This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jarboh, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back to the I Love Success podcast. My mission is to help 10 million people in 10 years to achieve their dreams. And I can't do it myself. That's why I'm here today in Chino Hills. I'm gonna meet with an amazing person called Bedros Keuilian. He's the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp, one of the fastest growing franchises in the world for fitness. He's just an incredible human being. But it's not always been like this. He's an immigrant kid, a former chubby kid. Now he's a little bit more buff. And he was a guy who used to do a lot of wrongs, but now he started to man up and change his life. And when he changed himself, everything else around him started to change. So I'm so grateful to be in his own studio today and record the I Love Success podcast. Welcome, Bedros.
Thank you for having me, and welcome to our headquarters,
Yeah,
Peter.
I was just saying, can I say welcome you? Can I take ownership of that?
Absolutely, man. This is your show, and I'm just grateful to be on it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm grateful too, and I'm going to jump right into it, Bedros.
Sure.
Who are you really as a person?
If I could summarize it in 4 words, it would be the Immigrant Edge and the American Dream. And by that I mean I'm a immigrant that came to this country from a communist country, Soviet Union, Armenia specifically, and I was 6 years old in 1980 when we came here, and there was no internet, there was no technology, the government didn't offer as many support systems for immigrants as it does today, and so, being foreigners, not speaking English, not knowing the culture, not having money, it was a tough upbringing for us. But my dad had a vision for bringing us to the United States and letting us grow as entrepreneurs, having us experience freedom, seeing opportunity. And those are all the things you couldn't do in a communist country. You can't be an entrepreneur. Freedom doesn't exist. And you can't voice your opinion when you're in a communist country. And so my dad, we escaped communist Russia, Soviet Union, and he risked his life to get us here. And so when he told us that we have freedom and opportunity and we can become entrepreneurs or anything we wanted, I took advantage of that. And I figured the best way to honor my mom and dad who took that risk was to become successful. But in the process of becoming successful, I did, as you alluded to your intro, I did hit a lot of road bumps. When you are yelled at and cussed at and told to go back to your own fucking country, it leaves a lot of scars on you as a young man. And I grew up with a lot of rage, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred towards the people who didn't want us here in this country. And so I got into a lot of trouble, and when I mean trouble, I mean like police helicopter chases, carjackings, and it's not something I'm proud of, but I share this in full transparency because if I didn't have mentors in my life who taught me the idea of karma, like I would do a carjacking, then later one night after a carjacking in the afternoon, that night I took a girl out to a date, to a miniature golfing. And little did I know that the guy that we carjacked was in an Asian gang, and he had followed me afterwards and knew where I was that night, and 13 of them came in to the golf course and beat me with golf clubs and put me in the hospital that night. And so I learned about karma very quickly. Growing up, I was a fat kid, so that gives you a lot of kind of insight into...
Me too.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could imagine, now you're a foreigner, you're a fat kid, you're told to go back to your own country, your parents are yelled at, hey, you're taking all of our American jobs. Like, it was a different America in the 80s. Yeah. It was a different America. I have to explain that. And then of course, in high school, elementary school, no one wants to talk to you if you're the fat kid. It's not like today where everybody's accepted. You're the fat kid, they're making fun of you, man. Bullying was real. It's not just cyberbullying, it was real. And so there was a lot of anger and rage, and I had no direction for an outlet. And so I got into a lot of trouble. Thankfully, my senior year of high school, I decided that I'm going to lose weight so I can ask a girl out to the prom. And when I lost the weight the summer of senior year, I lost like 35 pounds of fat and started to work out and put on some muscle. Peter, I completely changed as a human. I more confident, self-esteem. I would look people in the eyes and I would talk to them, shake their hands. And so I wanted to then, after high school, become a personal trainer. And that's when I started realizing that I have mentors around me, because anyone who could afford a personal trainer usually has a good amount of money. Yeah. That means they're probably an entrepreneur. They've done something in life to climb that high in success. And thankfully, my clients were my best mentors and guided me out of the self-destruction that I was in and into becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we're going to talk much more about that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, if we go back a little bit, do you remember anything from your time in Armenia? And what's your first memory coming to this country?
Yeah, oh man, you just gave me goosebumps, man. No one's asked me that second question. Yeah, I do remember my time in Armenia. I remember one time, so my dad was a tailor.
Yeah.
And like I said, nobody can own their own business. So he was in a men's suit manufacturing plant, and he was in charge of, I think, 20 or 30 tailors. And they would have material, and let's say for every 10 yards of material, you can make 5 suits. My dad had figured out that if you put the patterns of the suits close together, for every, let's say, 50 yards of material, you would have enough material left over that he would take home, and he would make a suit and sell it on the black market. That's how he gained the 25,000 rubles that we used to bribe the Russian government to escape, right? And so because of that, the local government there had gotten, I think maybe they had an idea my dad was doing that. Yeah. And one day I know it was dark outside, so it had to be after 8 o'clock in the evening. There was a knock on our door, and 2 KGB agents came in. I mean, just imagine that. Like today, FBI agents aren't just going to knock on your door and come in. They need a warrant, right, or CIA agents. But over there, they just knock on your door, they come right in, and it was everybody lined up against the wall, and they inspected our house to see if they could find tape measure, chalk, sewing machine, but my dad would hide everything. And so that was one of my first memories of Armenia. Another one was waiting in line in the grocery stores because, again, communist country during the war, not a lot of food available. So we would wait in line for bread, cheese, and butter. I'm talking hours. And I remember freezing to death. And I had a fur coat on, but I was in between my mom and some lady. And I would hope that they would squish me so that I can have some body heat, for hours, because my mom would take me to the store with her.
Yeah.
Those were some of the memories that I had of Armenia. And then, of course, coming to America, my first memory was my dad, within the first week, he got paid. I mean, the day he got here, he got a job the next day as a paper route, delivering newspapers. And I think at the end of the week, he got paid. He gave my mom some money. We went to Kmart, which is similar to a Walmart these days. And I mean, we never seen a grocery store that was full of stuff, from food to clothes. And he gave my mom, I don't know, $20, $30, but we came back with a shopping cart full of bread and cheese and bologna and peanut butter. And my favorite thing was there was a can of Welch's grape juice. Yeah. And I remember sitting in the, so 6 years old, sitting in the shopping cart. My mom's pushing it down the street, going to the apartments that we lived in. And I'm drinking this grape juice thinking, I love this country. That was my first memory.
Yeah, but isn't that amazing with us people? If you never seen anything else, sometimes you take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I think when you're talking about that immigrant edge, isn't that being a person who knows what it is what it's like on the other side and never wanted to go back there?
Yes, yeah. It's funny you say that. I was recording the Grant Cardone show 2 weeks ago in Florida, Power Players, and he goes, what motivates you? Does fear motivate you? I said, absolutely fear motivates me. Fear motivates a Navy SEAL. If a Navy SEAL didn't have fear in him, he wouldn't be cautious. He would just storm into every place and get shot up and killed. Fear heightens your senses. Fear motivates you. Fear is what drives people, right? The fear of dying keeps us safe because we look both ways before we cross the street. And so, yeah, the fear of ever being broke again or living in a oppressive government, because I've seen that, I have a fear of that, and I will always work my butt off to be successful, to make sure my family has more than enough, and to be able to contribute to the causes that I believe in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important to also learn from everything that you go through, right? And be stronger on the other side. But it's not always that easy, right? Because you come to this country that's supposed to be great, right? And there you are, people yelling at you. You work a lot. I know your parents had a lot of jobs.
Many jobs.
And you get paid just enough to get by, or not even that. Just like you said, you ran out of money before you ran out of month, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can you just talk about your dad, because he's kind of a real entrepreneur in that sense, and can you talk about him start buying that tailor shop and what happened? Because I'm curious, because I think that's has instilled a lot of things in you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I love your podcast because it's about success. And you look at what success meant to my dad. It was freedom. Success is freedom. Success is giving your kids opportunity, right? And success was him being able to make as much money as he wanted. And he had within the first couple days, he had a paper route when we came to America. Then within a week, he had a paper route and was cleaning the pizzeria that he worked in. And then he had the paper route, the pizzeria, and pumping gas at a gas station. He had multiple jobs. Yeah. And he had discovered behind a grocery store a dumpster where their grocery stores are throwing away food that had expired. And so he would take me to the grocery store dumpster and he would lift me up and put me in it, and I'd fish out the food. And this way we didn't have to spend too much money on food. And he would take the money that he had made after 3 years, and he bought a tiny little tailor shop in Anaheim. I'm talking like 800 square feet. A little tailor shop, because that's what he knows how to do, how to hem pants and sew things up. And he bought this thing at a discount because the previous owner had completely ruined the reputation of the business. He was a gambler, he was an alcoholic, an addict, and he never did a good job with his customers. But my dad got a good deal on the place. So he knew that if he took over and he put his time in, he would turn it around. And yeah, man, he's an entrepreneur through and through. He worked 6 days a week, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then during the holidays, from Thanksgiving all the way to January 1st, 7 days a week, never once complained. And when I would tell him, Dad, man, you work so much. Like, what are you doing? What is all this? He goes, son, work is holy. Like, I used to think growing up, like, man, you know, like, you work so that you can have weekends off. My dad's thing is work is holy. And I remember asking him, what do you mean it's holy? He goes, if you don't work, you're going to get into trouble. You don't work, you're going to get into depression. If you don't work, you're going to start thinking and get yourself into an anxiety. He didn't use those exact words. He didn't understand depression and anxiety, but he would say, if you don't work, you're going to get into trouble. Well, trouble comes in the form of anxiety, in depression, in being broke, and having to make bad decisions. Well, today from the stage, I tell the story of the German Shepherd, of the Australian Shepherd dog. Yeah. And any kind of shepherds, whether they're German Shepherds, Australian Shepherds, these dogs must have a purpose. And so I realize now what my dad was saying is work is purpose. And if you don't have purpose, just like the German Shepherd or Australian Shepherd, in the absence of having animals for them to herd, they go depressed, they get stir crazy, they get anxious, and they start digging holes everywhere because they need something to do, right? And then I tell people from stage, I say, so I wonder, since you don't have your purpose, what areas of your life are you digging holes in? In your relationships, in your finance, in your health, in your mindset. And so my dad had taught me this lesson 30 years ago.
Before you even knew it, right?
Before I even knew it.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, once I put the words purpose to it, and once I knew that the German Shepherd dog needs purpose, hey man, we're no different than German Shepherds. Yeah. You know, you and I are just like dogs. If we don't have purpose, we're going to go into depression, anxiety, and start digging holes in our life.
Yeah. And do you feel like I have to do well just because my parents sacrificed?
I don't feel I have to do well just because my parents sacrificed. I feel I have to do well to honor them for the sacrifice, and I feel I have to do well because if I don't, I know that I could live below my potential. Yeah. And Man, my friend Ed Milet says it well. He says, he goes, I don't care if you believe in God or not. He goes, but I do. And when I go to heaven, if God said, hey, this is the guy that I made you to be, and you came just below that, he goes, the man I want to meet is the man that I'm supposed to be when I die. And I think about that. Like, I know I have greater potential. I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my head, Peter. And we all do, right? We all have different potentials. Some people, like Elon Musk, has this desire to colonize Mars. Yeah. Like, I have no desire for that. But I know what it's like to be over fat, to be laughed at, to be bullied. And when in this country, especially the United States, any westernized country, when you're out of shape and fat, you're invisible. It is the fastest way to become invisible is to get fat. Nobody will look at you. And then you start going inward into your negative self-esteem, negative self-image, negative self-talk. And so for me, it's to help people break out of that. Like, there's so many great people who have such amazing potential, voice, ideas, who are hiding in 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds of fat. So for me, my purpose, my desire in life is to build a fitness franchise that's really going to make an impact on this planet. Just like Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars. But in the absence of that purpose, we go depressed, we go crazy.
No, I totally agree. And it's kind of sad when you see people with potential. I've been doing martial arts for so many years, and I never had the potential. I was that fat kid. I was the guy that, I remember first time I went to, like, my second competition, I lost like so big, and I was so depressed, but I kept going. Yeah. And I wanted to become that person. And when you put your mind to something, you can become it. And I managed to become a world medalist. It took me 20 years, but it changed me as a person. Yeah. And that's why I'm here today and want to share and want other people to feel that. You don't have to, even though you feel that you can't go out in this world and be that person that Ed Milet is talking about, you can, but you just have to find the tools and the mentors and start with your body, right? Before we talk more about that, I'm curious, because that summer when you decided to ask that girl out, you lost weight for like during a summer, 90 days. Yeah. And I know I read your book, Man Up, and I really I couldn't stop reading.
Oh, thank you.
And because I had to read it. But once I read it, I was like, shit, this is a really, really good book. So I'm honored that I got to read it before everyone else. But you said in the book that you never asked a girl out. How did that affect you? Because we all been in that situation. We want to do something, and then we like, shit, I can't do it. Can you just talk about that moment?
Yeah, I don't know what I thought, man. I don't know if I just thought magically if I lost the weight and got in shape during that summertime, I would come. Well, I guess I just assumed that when I came back senior year, more athletic looking, leaner, that she would maybe take interest in me. Maybe she would start talking to me, making it easier for me to go, hey, prom's coming up. Do you want to go to prom? Well, yeah, I was leaner. I was more athletic. I was even more outgoing. But she never took interest in me. And maybe, I don't know why she didn't, but she didn't. And maybe I could have taken interest in her. But my confidence had gone up during that summertime, but it hadn't gone up enough, unfortunately, for me to go and say, hey, Nakaya, how's it going? I've had a crush on you all the last 2 years. You know, like that never happened because my confidence never reached that level. But that's okay because it reached a level where I wanted to impact others to achieve the same, outcome that I did, which was self-esteem and self-image, confidence, and being able to look people in the eye.
And I think that's so interesting because change takes time. Yeah. But once we start, we're on a good way. And once we start, we realize, shit, it's gonna be a long ride. Yeah. I can tell you about my life. Like, I was that overweight kid too. And then I lost weight, but I couldn't talk to girls because I was short too. So first I was short and fat, and then I was just short and skinny, which is not so attractive, right?
So you can work, that's the funny thing, right? We can work out and lose the weight. Yeah. We can't work out and get taller.
Yeah, that was a disappointment. So a friend of mine showed me this book called The Game. I don't know if you read it.
Yeah. I know many of the guys who are in it. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So when we start reading this, like, wow, we can get girls interested. So we went out, started doing this, and it kind of worked for a little bit, But what we realized was, shit, I got a number now. What the heck am I going to do when I meet this girl?
Yeah.
And that's how I become into self-development and
Gotcha.
started the whole journey of developing myself. And I realized, like, if I don't develop myself, nothing else is gonna matter. I can have the best tools and tricks to attract a girl, but if there's nothing on the inside, and if I don't change myself, nothing's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, good point.
So I was curious about that because I've been in the same situation for a lot of times.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about you deciding to becoming an entrepreneur. When did you decide to do that?
You know, I was working at a big box gym in LA Fitness, La Habra, actually Fountain Valley, and then I went to La Habra. Yeah. It's like a big chain of gyms. And for all personal trainers in the fitness industry, the big box gym is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because they have gym members, and your job is to approach them and, hey, do you want to be a client? Can I help you get faster results? I'm a personal trainer. Do you want to hire me? Well, that's great, but the gym pays you at the time I was getting paid $11 an hour. Today it's probably $20, $25 an hour. Yeah. It's still nothing amazing. Like, you're not going to live a impactful life. You're not going to experience many of this planet's amazing places, destinations at $25 an hour. Yeah. And so I would always complain to my clients, like, oh man, you know, you're paying $800 a month. The gym is getting that. I'm getting $11.50 an hour, you know, and it's probably bad form to complain to them, right?
I love it.
Yeah, but you know, I was a young man, and so because of that, you know, Peter, I had two side jobs. I was a fry cook at Disneyland while I was a personal trainer, and I was a bouncer at a gay bar because the gay bar paid more than the straight bar. And when you work at Disneyland, you get to know a lot of gay people because a lot of gay people work at Disneyland for some reason. And so I made great friends with the gay community. And they said, one day I was complaining to them, like, man, as a personal trainer, I don't make enough money and I have to have the side job and I still need more money because Christmas is coming and I've got nieces and nephews. And this guy, Randy, he goes, well, if you don't mind working at a gay nightclub, I can get you a job as a bouncer. He goes, and they pay more than the straight bar. I'm like, well, dude, I work with you here. I don't mind going there, you know? So anyway, long story short, I remember thinking to myself, there is no nurse who's also a fry cook and a bouncer. There is no architect who's a fry cook and a bouncer. But in the personal training fitness industry, it's notorious that we have side jobs to make ends meet. And so I'm complaining to one of my clients, his name is Jim Franco, and he goes, why don't you do something about it? He goes, you're a horrible salesman. I go, no, I sold you on a $600 a month program. He goes, no, you didn't. You're an order taker. You just took my order. Like, you're not a salesman. You don't understand sales. He goes, I came in here looking for 3 days a week for a personal trainer, and you just took my order. Oh, dang, okay. So the next day he shows up with a cassette tape, which is a sales tape, and it teaches real estate agents how to sell homes. And so he goes, here, I want you to listen to this. And I look at the cover, I go, this says real estate sales. I'm a personal trainer. This can't help me. He goes, listen, every time you hear real estate, just change it to personal trainer. You're going to do fine. Man, that tape from Tom Hopkins led me to Brian Tracy, then Zig Ziglar, then Dan Kennedy, then Tony Robbins, then Jay Abraham, Gary Albert. And before you know it, I've just become this master at marketing, sales, influence, persuasion. And I'm closing deals left and right. I'm still making $11, $12 an hour. And I go, hey, Jim, I'm closing all these deals for the health club. He goes, well, why don't you open up your own place? I don't have any money. He goes, I'll loan you the money. You pay me back 8%, but I still be your 50% business partner, even after you pay me back. It was a horrible deal, but I took it because I didn't know it was a horrible deal. So I paid him back 8% interest, and he was my business partner in my first gym. After that, I opened up 4 more. But it was the pain of being an employee. The pain of being an employee was so bad for me. The pain of having multiple jobs was so bad, Peter, that I had to become an entrepreneur because I wanted a champagne life, but I was getting a beer paycheck.
Yeah. But I think it's so difficult for a lot of fitness professionals because they're so good, as a lot of them are so good in training, but they don't know how to monetize this.
That's it.
So what do you want, I know you're the expert in this, what do you want to tell like to people from all over the world watching this that they love the idea of becoming a successful trainer, but they don't even know how can they make ends meet, you know?
And by the way, that's notorious for personal training, for dentists, for chiropractors. Turns out in many different industries. Doctors, my father-in-law is a Harvard grad MD. He makes $110,000 a year, and he has his own practice.
What?
Right? $110,000, man. You can go sell cars part-time, and you can make that kind of money, right? Yeah. And you can imagine what it took to pay off his school debt. I've got a client. He's now the expert to dentists. He does what I do with personal trainers. He coaches dentists. His name is Mark Costas. He said it cost almost $200,000 to become a dentist in schooling, and then you come out, and every bank wants to give you a loan so you can open up your own dental practice and buy the chairs and the drills and all that. So now you're almost $1 million in. He goes, not a single page, not even a chapter, not a single page in any of the curriculum, same with the personal training industry, same with chiropractors, is dedicated to marketing, selling, business development. And so what I'm going to tell every technician out there, whether they're a personal trainer, a dentist, a chiropractor, service provider, is that you might have the best mousetrap, you might be the best technician, unless you know how to market and sell and dominate the market with your message, you will always starve. And the lesser product or service, the person who has the lesser product or service, who knows how to market and sell, will always get the clients before you because they know the art of selling and persuasion and marketing, and you don't.
And what's the art of selling? If you would, it's hard to summarize, but what's the most important things to think about when you are selling something?
Good question. There's two things. And most people go, oh, selling, man, I didn't become a doctor to sell. I didn't become a personal trainer to sell. Look, I'm in great shape. She's 200 pounds overweight. Her doctor says she needs to lose weight. Her husband says she needs to lose weight. Her neighbor says she needs, like, I shouldn't have to sell you. No, you do, because odds are the person who's 200 pounds overweight, 100 pounds, 50 pounds overweight, they don't have a diet problem. They have an emotional problem that they're using food as the treatment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so if you understand marketing, then you can explain to them, like I was able to explain to them, it's called transference of feelings. I don't have to sell you. I would just go, hey, Mrs. Jones, can I be honest with you? I used to be 35 pounds overweight, and in high school, I wasn't friends with the jocks. I wasn't friends with the smart kids, with the gothic kids, with the musician kids. In fact, I hated lunch in high school because every group was sitting around having fun and eating, and because I felt like a pariah, I felt like an outcast. Peter, I would just walk around the quad because I didn't even have a place that I belonged in, and so I just was like, I hope no one sees me. I hope I'm invisible. I hope lunch is over soon. I would just walk around waiting for that 45-minute lunch period to end. Well, that happens with grown adults today. We eat ourselves because of trauma, of something in our relationship, financial stress, you name it. Something's going on and we're using food as the medication. I was using food as the medication because I was a kid who had been bullied. I was a kid who had been told, go back to your own fucking country. And so to me, I had low self-esteem, low self-image, and food gave me that dopamine hit that I needed to get me through the day, right? And it was a source of comfort. Well, as it turns out, thankfully, because I wanted to ask a girl out, I decided that I better make an effort and lose weight. Turns out I got more self-esteem and comfort by being fit and athletic than ever with food. So if you understand marketing and selling, you can transfer those feelings. Now I can talk to Mrs. Jones, who's 50 to 250 pounds overweight, and say, can I tell you my story? Can I tell you how I was hiding? Can I tell you how I was suffering? Can I tell you how I used food as medication? And when I transfer my feelings over to her, she goes, I want to do business with you. Yeah. Here's my money. Help me get there. Because she doesn't have a diet problem. You can go to YouTube and figure out what diet to eat for free. You can go to YouTube and figure out what exercises to do. If you want motivation, go to YouTube and Google Tony Robbins and you got motivation. You want accountability, go download whatever it's called, whatever app you need for accountability. Everything's there, it's free. You need a person to tell you and guide you and say, I was once where you are, I know your pain, I know your suffering, I know you're suffering in silence. And it doesn't matter if you're a dentist, by the way, if you're a chiropractor, you're a personal trainer, it's the same thing. So selling is transference of feelings. People go, well, I don't want to force someone to give me their money in exchange for my service. Just transfer your feelings. Yeah. But if we don't know how to do that, we think selling is bad. Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah, I think like selling is everything.
Everything.
You sell every. I met with Ryan Serrant, which is one of the best real estate agents in the world, and it's like we're constantly selling something. Even you sell to your kids, or if you're a mom, or like you always sell something. And if you can't sell, you're gonna lose in this economy, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that person,
No.
especially when you're good at something. We talk about doctors and all these things. And I listened to the impact theory with you yesterday.
Yeah.
It was interesting. You said you're not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
I'm not.
But you seem very intelligent. And look, we're sitting in your offices here. Why do you think you made this happen, you know? Because it must be something with you that made this happen, you know?
Two things, consistence and persistence. I am obsessed. For some reason, I lock onto things, which means I am persistent. Like I will do something over and over again until I figure it out. For example, you said you weren't naturally gifted at karate, right, at martial arts. But let's say you were. If you were, and we both learn a new, I don't know, kick, block, whatever, and you pick it up right away, good for you. I'll keep doing it until 2 years from now, I can do it as good as you. So that's the persistence. And the consistency is that I lock onto something and I just keep doing it. You could set your clock to me. So you don't have, and I'm proof, you don't have to be the most, I've taken an intelligence test. I am average intelligence. Like I am the average human being. In fact, I've got ADD, OCD, and the ADD is damaging to me, but the OCD is the persistence. Yeah. And the consistence part is my dad always said, like, finish what you start. Well, if I'm going to try and become an entrepreneur and I want 2,500 locations worldwide so we can impact 5 million people every year or every morning through fitness, I better be consistent. And those are the only two reasons why I've made it.
Yeah. And how's your mission going? You're doing very well right now, right?
Yeah, we're doing very well, thankfully. Entrepreneur Magazine just ranked us top 500 franchises in the world, fastest growing franchises. Out of 175,000 franchises, we're number 385, and we're very grateful for that. And we're a pretty new franchise. We just franchised in 2012. But the money and having our brand everywhere, that's all great. But what I enjoy most is people go, man, so what kind of cars? Do you have a private jet? I've donated 7 figures to Shriners Children's Hospital. Just this past Christmas alone, we bought $250,000 worth of toys for the Marine Corps Toys for Tots. We've got 97 kids adopted through Compassion International. Every month, my kids get a cramp writing back to all those kids in Guatemala, and I love that. But to me, I want 1,000 kids from Compassion International. I want 10 million to Shriners. I want to donate $1 million every year of toys to Toys for Tots. So to me, I'm a collector of experiences, and so more than the money and the brand and the business and the security, I love the experience of making kids happy because, and it's no surprise, by the way, people go, man, you're such a good guy. That's great, but the truth is, I'm just trying to heal myself. Because what I didn't tell you is in Armenia, between the ages of 4 and 5, I was molested by 2 older boys. And that was very traumatic for me. And that left a lot of scars. And I didn't deal with that until the age of 38, until a few years ago. I started working with a therapist. When I came to this country, I didn't have Christmas the first couple of years. Like, we didn't have a Christmas tree. We didn't even have a bed to sleep on. My dad found a mattress somewhere that was stained, and he and my mom slept on the mattress, and me, my brother, and my sister slept in the corner of the room on the ground. And that was it. And so to me, kids are very important to me. So every time I've gotten money to get a private jet, I'm going to donate that to a kid cause. I got money for Rolls Royce, I'm going to donate that to a kid cause. Now, make no mistake, I'm not Gandhi. I have a great life. We fly first class or upper class or whatever it's called, and I certainly do fly private jets whenever I feel like it. But I'm not a collector of things, I'm a collector of experiences, and those experiences lead to the legacy that I want to leave behind, which is that guy helped people lose weight and get fit and helped a whole bunch of kids have a Christmas, have a medical service they needed, or just get an education through Compassion International. So that's my big thing. So yeah, the impact is huge, and the business is the vehicle to that impact.
That's so beautiful, and thank you for doing that. I think it's so important that we give as much as we can, right?
Yep.
Because that is going to make the world a better place, right? And how, let's talk about healing. How is your healing? You started with this when you're 38. How is it going? the healing?
Good, man. And here's how it started too. It was accidental. Right around 38, at the age of 38, I had my first anxiety attack, which I talk about in the book, and I called it, in the book I call it the morning of my heart attack, because I thought I was having a heart attack, man. Like my throat was closing up, my arms were tingling, my tunnel vision, I couldn't breathe right. And Peter, I was thinking, like, who's gonna raise my daughter? Who's gonna give my son, fatherly lessons? And somehow I survived that heart attack. Well, as it turns out, it was an anxiety attack, my first of many. And so the doctor put me on Xanax, and I didn't like using Xanax because I was foggy-headed and I couldn't perform at work. So I did a Google search, and Google helped me find this guy named Kevin Downing. He's in Brea, he's a psychologist, and he's a performance psychologist. So he'll help you perform better at life or sports or whatever your thing is. And so I went to him, I said, hey, look, I'm getting anxiety. I need to not have anxiety so I can work, because when I have anxiety, I end up taking NyQuil and Vicodin at night so I can sleep. And I don't want to do that. So he goes, all right, well, in 4 weeks, he helped me. He helped me get over anxiety. And he taught me two things. One is HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. When you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you're gonna have an anxiety if you're me. If you're an alcoholic, you're likely gonna hit the bottle. If you're a drug addict, if you're hungry, lonely, angry, tired, you're gonna go back to drugs. Whatever your vice is, if you're hungry, lonely, angry, tired, halting, you're gonna go back to that. So he says, hey, make sure if you're hungry, stop what you're doing, go take a bite, go get some food, nourish your body, get some water. Lonely, stop being lonely. A lot of people suffer when they're lonely, right? Stop being lonely. Go take a walk with your wife, hang out with your kids, connect with a friend, go surfing. So I started to do those things. And then the other thing he taught me was anxiety is anticipation of future pain. So when you're having an anxiety moment, it's because you're anticipating a future problem, a future pain that you're not addressing. So in 4 weeks, I shook his hand. Kevin, thank you so much. I haven't had anxiety for 4 weeks now. You've cured me. I understand HALT. I understand anxiety is anticipation of future pain. Peace out. And he goes, hey, before you leave, how's your life? How's the rest of your life? Great, everything's fine. How was your childhood? Great. Did your parents ever beat you? I'm like, my dad slapped me around here and there, but that's just the communist way. But compared to what happened to me when I was a kid, even in Armenia, my dad slapping me around is nothing. He goes, wait a minute, there's something worse that happened to you than being slapped around by your dad? I go, yeah. And that's pretty much led to the next 16 months. Every Monday for 16 fucking months, I went to Kevin and we just went through what happened to me as a kid. And the three things it had done to me is I was shame, rage, and confusion. I was in this constant cycle of shame. Like, I'm embarrassed. I can't believe I got molested. What did I do to deserve, right? I'm embarrassed by this. Confusion, like, did I encourage that? Did I do something to get molested? Like, did I encourage these guys to do this to me over and over again? And then the rage. How the fuck could this happen to me? Like, this will never happen to me again. And I'm gonna be big and strong and powerful so this never happens to me again. And so when you're stuck in this cycle of shame, rage, confusion, you're doing a lot of carjackings. You're doing a lot of bad things to people because you are just acting out. That's all it is. It was a young boy acting out as a man, right? And so as Kevin helped me, I call it, I had 3 mountains that I always had to battle in my whole life. And as he just straightened those mountains out, now my path was even. I wasn't flying off the handle. I'm not ashamed of what happened. I didn't do anything to attract that. It happened to me. It doesn't define me. And anybody watching or listening to this, like, no one gets out of this life unscathed. The statistics are this: 1 out of every 3 people will have physical, mental, emotional trauma. 1 out of every 4 people will have sexual trauma, sexual abuse. It doesn't matter if it's physical, sexual, emotional, mental. The part of your brain that lights up when there's trauma is the same. Yeah. And so you start seeing life through different filters. No trust, anger, rage, pessimism, right? Yeah. And when you're looking at life and hearing life through those twisted filters, things aren't going to work out for you. And they weren't working out for me. And that was the source of my anxieties. And so thankfully, everything's great. I can openly talk about it now. I had never talked about it. My wife didn't know. No one knew for 38 years. And now when the timing's right, I do talk about it, and it's just a blip on my radar. That's it.
And what do you want to say to other people that are going through this now, but they're so afraid of talking about it because they are, I don't know what they are, but they don't want to tell anyone.
I'll tell you what they are. They're worried that if I go to a psychologist, it means I'm broken. Especially if they're a guy, if they go to a psychologist, like, hey, that's a weak move. I'm not a weak person. I'm an emotionally strong person. You are, and I was 38. Like, I held on to this and I powered through it and had a family and was a successful entrepreneur, but just barely fucking holding on by just with my claws, man. And the example Kevin told me, my therapist, was, he goes, hey, imagine a beach ball. So if you and I go in the water and I give you a beach ball in my pool and I say, all right, Peter, hold the ball down. Hey, it's just a beach ball. You can hold it down underwater long enough, but sooner or later you're thirsty, maybe a fly lands on your nose and you want to scratch your nose. Sooner or later that ball's going to pop out. And that's when the rage comes out. That's when the destruction, the toxicity, all this stuff comes out. What if we can just take the air out of that ball? It just stays underwater, right? And that's what it is. So I tell people, look, there's a stigma to going to a therapist. There's a stigma to if you were molested, or if my friend Lewis House openly talks about he was raped. He was raped and he was just fucking angry, and he was gonna get on that football field and not just take you down, he was gonna plow through you, right? That's what happens. But when you start dealing with it and you turn those mountains into molehills and the molehills into just a straight path, your life is clear. The filters are off. You see the world for what it is, the good and the bad, versus everything bad, everything risk, everything toxic, everything dangerous. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. So, man up, what does that mean, you know?
Yeah. It certainly is, it's not just gender specific to men. Man up is this to me. When I had a business partner in Fit Body Bootcamp, and he was a good human, but we had two different visions for Fit Body Bootcamp, how Fit Body Bootcamp was going to be. And I would hear his Corvette driving up to our old office down the street, 2 miles away from here, and I would start feeling anxiety because there was conversations that he and I needed to have, but I wasn't willing to have those conversations because I was too people-pleasing. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want to seem like a bad guy. And so instead, I would carry that, and led to anxiety, almost led to a divorce. I started putting weight on again because I was starting to emotionally eat again, right? And so one day, I just told myself, like, I've got to have this conversation with him, and we have to part ways. He can have Fit Body Bootcamp, or I can, but we both can't run it together. And so I texted him and I said, hey, can you meet me in the office, at the office? And I was like probably an hour and a half away from the office at the time. I'm driving there, and Peter, everything inside me is saying, just go off the exit, just turn around, just text him and say, hey, never mind, there's nothing to talk about. But I kept telling myself, Bedros, it's time to man up. It's time to man up. I drove an hour and a half literally saying that mantra over and over again. It's time to man up. It's time to man up, until I got to the headquarters. And truth be told, I parked in front of our office. I'm sitting in my car. I'm like, just put it in reverse, go back home. You know, no, it's time to man up. It's time to have that conversation. So it was a call to action, that do what you need to do. Have the hard conversation and part ways as friends before things get worse. And so it's those 5 words, it's time to man up, helped me not only part ways with him, but helped me get clear on my vision for my team. I hated my employees, and today I call them team members. Back then I had employees. They clocked in a little late, clocked out a little early, did the bare minimum. They didn't know what my vision was, and I had resentment towards them, but I didn't have vision. So man up really is rise to your full potential. It's stop making excuses, take control of your situation, and rise to your potential. I was using the excuse of, oh, my partner means well, but I was coming up with excuses for him. Oh, my employees mean well, but they just don't understand. Oh, my franchisees don't understand how hard I'm working, and that's why they're complaining, right? I was the problem. I had to stop making excuses for everybody, take control, and then have the conversations, become self-disciplined, eat right, train right, know that I want 2,500 locations by the year 2023, and build a high-performance team instead of just employees who kind of showed up and barely worked. So man up is a call to action, and I tell anyone, if you have greater potential in life, and you're not reaching it, it's time to man up. Yeah.
And I was so happy. All the communication I've had with your team through email and today when I came here, it's been exceptional. And I'm so glad to see that in a business, because I was finishing your book yesterday, and I was reading about your team members, and I was curious, how will it be tomorrow when I arrive?
Yeah.
And I've been so positively surprised. So thank you for doing this, and it must feel great to become that person too, right?
Absolutely, and I'm still a work in progress. I'm not saying I'm the world's best leader, but I'm a better leader than I was 6 years ago. Because 6 years ago, if you walked into our other office, and today I've got 44 team members here. I had 9 employees over there. Man, I couldn't keep anyone under control. That's because I didn't have self-discipline. I didn't have control. I was an imposter. I was a hypocrite. I was not a servant leader. Like, if any one of my team members here go, hey, Bedros, can we go to Starbucks, have coffee? I want to talk to you about my personal life, not even about work. Sure, you got it. Just this morning, I was in my office talking to one of my team members about his personal life. In fact, the guy right there behind the camera, who's one of my team members, he and I went to Starbucks and we had talk about personal life and professional life. That never happened before because I was not the servant leader. I was just hoping that they would understand what I want magically. That never happened. So if you came to my old office 6 years ago, they would be surprised that you showed up. Who are you? What are you here for? A podcast with Bedros? Actually, you wouldn't even want to do a podcast with me 6 years ago because my business was failing. Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, Forbes magazine never talked about me like they do today. And so it's a big difference. Yeah, I've got a high performance team and I'm just so grateful for them. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see what you can accomplish. And I was contemplating when I was driving here today, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about you and trying to imagine, when you were that kid and people say, go home to your country. And then I imagine how would it be to see this man today and see what he have become. Yeah. And it's, for you, it must feel fucking incredible, right?
Yeah.
To remind yourself of that. Sometimes I look at my own life. I wasn't supposed to become a world medalist. I wasn't supposed to do all these things, but with the drive and with people helping me and making a decision of being persistent and disciplined, just like you talked about, you can do so many things. Yeah. And that's why what I want to share with the audience too, and I know you're very busy, so we're not going to talk for too much, but I have a couple of more questions.
Sure, yeah.
So one thing is success.
Yeah.
What the fuck is success? Everybody's talking about it, but what is it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Success to me at the end of the day is peace of mind. Peace of mind. Now, if you get peace of mind from having $20 million in the bank, because that gives you peace of mind and security so you can sleep well at night, great. If you have peace of mind because you need material things to give you validation, cars, planes, homes, cool, great. Custom suits, good for you. If you get peace of mind by donating to Shriners Hospital, Compassion International, Toys for Tots, good for you. If you get peace of mind by building an international franchise and helping the world and not being afraid to charge what you deserve, that's success. So to me, peace of mind is success. Success is peace of mind. How you get peace of mind, for some people is through material things, some people is through experiences, some people is through financial security. To Grant Cardone, he wants to have every piece of apartment that is cash flow positive, right? That gives him peace of mind for his future. Hey man, I don't judge. So success to me right now is the experiences that I'm able to give my family and the legacy I'm able to build through the causes that I donate to. Yeah. Every time I built a private gym 2.5 miles down the street. That to me is success because I love to work out. I love working out, and I'm the guy that complains to my wife when I go to the gym and there's a 30-pound dumbbell on the ground and there was one over there and that's just bad, very bad. And some guy didn't wipe up their sweat. And one day she goes, hey, we own a commercial building. Why don't you make your own gym? That's gonna cost millions. We can afford it. All right, so to me, I spent on a gym what somebody would spend on a private jet. Yeah. But that gives me success. I feel successful because it smells great. There's no sweat anywhere. All the weights are lined up perfectly, There's not a thing out of place. if I want a private jet, I just rent it, right? But I don't want to rent a gym membership. When I had a gym membership, I hated it. So success to me comes in the form of a multi-million-dollar private gym that me and my team can work out in.
Yeah, and I think you're very detail-oriented, right?
Yes, sir.
Because
Attention to detail.
I went to the restroom and I was so clean and the floor was shiny. I was like, oh, wow, this is good.
Yeah, you'll never find a thing out of place around here because it goes back to what T. Harv Eker said, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And
is that true?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I walk out to your car right now, I can tell by the way you're buttoned up right now that if I walk out to your car and look at it, it's spotless inside. There's no protein bar wrappers or empty Starbucks cups. And then we can go find a car that we do see burger wrappers and empty Starbucks cups and containers. And we can find who owns that and go find their office in the building next door, because they wouldn't be in this building, or the building next door. We find their office, it's going to look like their car. And then if their office looks like their car, their thoughts are like that. Their bank account, if we look at it, it's chaotic. Their relationship is a mess. It's chaotic. You look at their health, it's chaotic. How you do anything is how you do everything. Everything's connected. Yeah.
And you said also in the book that you want to show the world to your family. What's your dream destination that you want to take your family to?
My dream destination that I want to take my family to. I talked about that in the book.
You said that you want to have an impact with money so you can show your kids the world.
Yeah. Okay, this is a little embarrassing. So I got on an airplane from Armenia to Italy, from Italy to the United States. I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't get back on an airplane again until I was 27, right? 21 years later. I thought California was the entire country. It's embarrassing to say, but I thought California was the entire country. I had never heard, someone with a British accent, an Australian accent. And had I not met my wife, who was from Washington State, I would have never gone to Washington State, which is just 2 states away. But it's a little different culture there. Yeah. And I went there and I was like, wow, this is so different than California. Then I got to thinking, wait a minute, imagine what the East Coast is like. Imagine what Great Britain is like. Imagine what Sweden is like. Yeah. And so I told myself that when I have kids, I want their passport by the time they're 18 to be stamped in so many different cultures, countries, languages that they see in multicolor that I never saw. So my kids have been literally to every island in Greece, Italy, France, UK, Scotland, Ireland, almost every state in the United States. I can't even think of the countries they've been to right now off the top of my head, but it's the experiences they've gotten, the mannerisms they've learned. In every culture, there's a different mannerisms. Yeah. And so imagine the advantage in life they will have that I didn't have. And so that was, again, another definer of success. And I said, I don't want to just fly coach. I want to fly not in first class, but I love how Virgin Atlantic has upper class. You get your own pod. And I love that my daughter, who's 10, hey, Daddy, so is it going to be the kind of bed like we saw in the British Airways or in Virgin Atlantic where the bed folds down this way, or does the bed fold down? Man, all I knew was that you're sitting like this in an airplane.
That's a good problem to have.
Right? My daughter's wondering, are they going to serve caviar or is it going to be salmon with cream cheese, Dad? Like, they're not spoiled because when they get Christmas gifts, they keep one and they donate everything else, right? And I've got them writing to the kids. But I want them to have higher standards, higher expectations that I never had. So their experiences are world class. And I know they'll make a bigger impact on this planet than I did, which is yet another definer of success. When I'm long gone, the 2 kids I'm leaving behind who are going to make twice the impact at 10 times the level than I did, huge.
That's incredible. Yeah. One last question to you, Bedros. Something that I ask all my guests. Yeah. We're all about sharing journeys, and your journey is incredible. But what I really want to do is when people are done watching and listening to this, that they take action in their own life, because then this conversation matters and we can help them change their own life. So if they can just do one thing right after this, what would that be?
That one thing is tomorrow morning, do not hit the snooze button. That's it. The one thing you can do immediately to create a positive change in your life tomorrow is to not hit the snooze button when your alarm goes off. And the reason for that is you are telling your subconscious mind that you are accepting 10 more minutes of interrupted, mediocre sleep over waking up and living your purpose and your passion on this planet. And if the very first decision you made in the morning is a decision of weakness, of mediocrity, how do you think the rest of your day is going to go? So I want them to spring out of bed, brush their teeth, go through their gratitude exercises, do whatever it takes to dominate their path instead of hitting that fucking snooze button.
Yeah. I love it. Bedros, I am grateful that you gave me the opportunity to come here today, to meet with you and to talk with you. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. Thank you. And thank you everybody for watching and listening to this. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And if you did, make sure to share it with someone that you think really needs this. Or maybe someone that would never listen to something like this, because maybe that's the person that need a little bit of change in their own life. So do that right now, and also check out this book. It's called Man Up, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting next to Bedros. He looks dangerous. I genuinely like this book. I've read hundreds of books, and this book made an impact in my life. And I actually this morning when you were said that about snooze thing, when I was thinking this morning, shit, I can't snooze because I'm gonna meet this guy today, and I rarely snooze, but it happens maybe once in a month. But I'm gonna quit with that too, because I don't think that's a good trait of a person that I want to be and want to become. So thanks again. Here it is, Man Up. Thanks and bye.